Nature is a celebration of diversity, where many neighbors bring dynamic balance to the wild community. Hi, my name is Rich Hanlon. I'm your Wild Neighbors Nature Connection Nature Guide. This week, volunteering my services for Adirondack Wildlife Refuge and Skylife ADK. Come on, let's take a walk and see what's waiting for us down the trail. I'm here with my new friend Kevin and his wife Jackie. They are the creators of the butterfly exhibit called Skylife ADK. Kevin, could you walk us through the butterfly exhibit and perhaps tell us a little bit about Skylife ADK and maybe a couple of things, 3 things you feel everybody should know about butterflies?
Come on in, Rich, and I'll show you exactly what we do here. My wife and I, about 8 years ago, got started in conservation, specifically gauged towards monarchs, because we live by a long river. About 3 miles of it grows a lot of milkweed, and unfortunately the milkweed is cut down 2 or 3 times during the year. In the process of cutting down that milkweed, unfortunately they do get a lot of the caterpillars that are eating, because that is a host plant for monarchs. It is one of the only host plants for monarchs, and monarchs are one of our best pollinators to go right along with our native bees and honeybees. Our pollinators are so important that they are responsible for about 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we eat as people today. That's directly related to fruits and vegetables. Outside of that, they're indirectly responsible for about 2/3, because they also pollinate the stuff that our meat-eating animals use to live. So they're very important, not just monarchs, but pollinators in general, and that's what we try to focus on here. We got into the monarchs, of course, because of the ability of being mowed up with the mowers, and what we do is we go through and we collect them off the milkweed, collect milkweed, and then we raise them to the adult stage. We release them in our butterfly house to show and use as education, and we keep them here for 3 days so they can build up their strength, and then every 3rd day we release them back into the nature just to help the cycle. It's thought that about 1 in 100 monarch butterflies actually survive. They are not only pollinators that are very important for our own food source, but they are actually a food source with the exception of monarchs, because they feed on milkweed, so they're not typically eaten, because milkweed is toxic to a lot of animals, and they carry some of those chemicals through the caterpillar stage and the imago stage, or the adult stage. So they are really not a food source to many other things, but a lot of other butterflies, native butterflies, bees, and pollinators serve as the first thing that small animals eat. We're talking about whether it's larger insects or mammals. Birds definitely eat a lot of different insects, bats, so they support the beginning part of that chain of life, and we're all connected. So we find that to be extremely important to share with people and to educate people. When we bring monarchs in here for the 3 days, we do a supplemental feed in shower squish balls that have been disinfected, and what we typically feed them is a 50-50 mixture of water and honey, all natural honey, because we do keep honeybees on one of our other properties, or we use blue Gatorade for the minerals and the electrolytes. Butterflies will eat typically about once every 2 to 3 days, and usually never the day that they emerge from their chrysalis. And that is also why we keep them here for 3 days, is to allow them enough time to get past that first day, to build up a small appetite and get their first feed before we let them out. We've really enjoyed bringing the education and the experience of being able to handle a monarch with people, and to teach about their wings, their flight patterns, and where they stand in our ecosystem, as well as where they travel to, down to southern Mexico, southern Florida, and places throughout South America, where they roost in large fir trees throughout the winter. those same butterflies that leave upstate New York and travel down to Mexico to their winter roosting areas are able to live throughout the entire winter and start the next generation of monarchs that start making their way from the southern states in the United States up to the northern states. And we typically see them in the 4th and 5th generation, the 5th generation being the longest. So a lot of people are under the impression that all butterflies may live for 10 to 14, some 20 days, but there are certain generations that live a lot longer, and those are the migrating generations. It's thought that monarch butterflies can travel up to 3,500 miles to find their wintering grounds. There are other butterflies like painted ladies that travel up to 10,000 miles. So we really enjoy bringing this experience to people and the education value to it, and we hope that it turns their heart towards pollinators. Thank you for visiting.
There you have it. Nature is a celebration of diversity, where many neighbors, including butterflies, flowers, and you, bring dynamic balance to the wild community. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.